divisions of Buddhism. Now, we have three major divisions within Buddhism. First, we have this Theravada Buddhism, and that can be translated as the way of the elders. Some people call this branch of Buddhism Hinayana Buddhism, which directly translates to small vehicle Buddhism. So this small vehicle Buddhism is the opposing branch of Buddhists. They name Theravada Buddhism in a negative light, saying that you only can take a small number of people to enlightenment, so not good enough. So Theravada Buddhism is one branch of Buddhism. And this branch of Buddhism is more in line with the original teachings of the Buddha and his earliest followers. And the essential the teaching of this essential practice of this branch of Buddhism is that individual's effort is most important in salvation. You really cannot get help from any divine figure, and you're on your own to reach nirvana, to reach enlightenment. In this branch of Buddhism, they emphasize very simple rituals, and also they reject the use of very elaborate rituals and elaborate images. And also they believe that monastery living is the really quick way to reach salvation, to reach enlightenment. So this branch of Buddhism is more commonly practiced in Sri Lanka and mainland Southeast Asia, except Vietnam. As a result of the location of those countries, this branch of Buddhism sometimes is also called Southern Buddhism. These are a couple of pictures. You can show that the statues on the left show a Buddha with a very simple lined image, and only Buddha himself as the focus of worship. In countries where Theravada Buddhism is practiced, especially in mainland Southeast Asia, young boys at the age of 6 or 7 can be temporarily ordained as a monk to live in a Buddhist temple for a period of time and return home later. And some of them may also choose to stay there as their, as their professional Buddhist monk. Yeah. So this is the part of the practice of Theravada Buddhism in countries of mainland Southeast Asia, and Thailand, Burma, and Cambodia, and Laos, these countries. On this map, you can see the locations of countries where this branch of Buddhism is practiced. It is a southerly location, and that's why it is called Southern Buddhism. Then you have Mahayana Buddhism, which means a large vehicle. Within this branch of Buddhism, salvation is for all humankind, for both Buddhist monks and lay person. And the Buddhism for everyone, Buddhism for the masses, Buddhism for the masses. So that is, in one sense, is vehicle is large, not just for those monks, but also for lay persons. So you have more people can reach enlightenment. So that, in one sense, is a large vehicle. In addition, there is this very important notion within Mahayana Buddhism, Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is kind of religious figures that their status is between a Buddha and a regular human being. This is a kind of a deity who have all kind of a power, but they have not reached the status of Buddha himself. So it's like kind of a saint within Christianity. that they are religious figure. They are also the object of worship in many situations. But Bodhisattva is very close to Buddha, and they come to human being to provide help and guidance in salvation to human being. Also, to solve some problems in everyday needs for human beings. And there are bodhisattvas that are in charge of business fortunes, and there are bodhisattvas that are in charge of child bearing and child raising, and therefore people would go to worship those bodhisattvas when they have some specific desire. Anybody who want to have a son, they would come to pray to a particular bodhisattva, hoping to get a healthy son. So that's you can really see that in humans' everyday needs, they wish to get help from bodhisattva. So those the role of bodhisattva is very varied, sometimes very practical, and there are up to several hundreds of different bodhisattvas that can provide a variety of help to human beings. So that is another sense that give you a sense of a large vehicle. You are not on your own. You're not on your own. You can get help from the divine figure, such as bodhisattva. Okay, so that's another sense of a large vehicle. Besides, we should achieve our own self-liberation, self-enlightenment, we should also help other sentient beings. And this is a sense of compassion. You accumulate virtues by helping other sentient beings, by being nice to animals, to plants, and to other human beings. These all help you accumulate your virtue, and this is called compassion. And people within Mahayana Buddhism, they use both the traditional text and the newer text, and they also use very elaborate rituals, very elaborate decorations, the statues and images. And the practice of this of Mahayana Buddhism is many countries such as China, Japan, Korea, and including Vietnam. They are more in a northerly locations, and so sometimes Mahayana Buddhism is also called the northern Buddhism. Here on this slide, you see a picture of a Buddha. You see in this picture, in the center is the Buddha himself, but on both sides each side you have a bodhisattva. So the focus of worship is not only on the Buddha himself, but also in most Mahayana Buddhist temples, you also see the images of statues of bodhisattva. And here the picture at the right lower corner shows extremely elaborate and decorated statues of Buddha and the bodhisattvas. On this map, you can really see the location of Mahayana Buddhism in mostly northerly locations. So, northern Buddhism. Then, third branch of Buddhism, Rajayana, or Tantric Buddhism. And some people also call this diamond vehicle. This branch of Buddhism is mainly practiced in Tibet, Mongolia, and the Inner Mongolia of China, Bhutan, and then often this branch of Buddhism also mixed with some local faiths. For example, in Tibet, this branch of Buddhism mixed with Bon, part of local practice, essentially a kind of a practice of animism. In this branch of Buddhism, they adopt very extremely elaborate ritual, and tantra kind of a worship, chantings and symbolic images and hand gestures, extremely elaborate, very complex. They also adopt this Bodhisattva, in this regard similar to Mahayana Buddhism. They also emphasize this master-student transmission. You learn Buddhism not only by reading scriptures, but also through face-to-face communication between the masters and disciples. And also, one unique aspect of this branch of Buddhism is the gurus or lamas. They regard the gurus, the lamas, those leaders of the groups, as reincarnations of Buddhas or Bodhisattvas. So that's, for example, the Dalai Lama within Tibetan Buddhism was regarded as a reincarnation of a Bodhisattva. So that's, and also in countries or in locations where this branch of Buddhism is practiced, there's traditionally there's a large percentage of males as professional Buddhist monks. So Vajrayana Buddhism is very unique branch of Buddhism, and some people say that this is a branch of Buddhism that somehow lie between the Mahayana Buddhism and Theravada Buddhism. On this slide, you can see some extremely elaborate Buddhist statues. Here is a Buddhist statue made of butter. So every year, the Buddhist monks spend a lot of time to make those butter sculptures during the winter season. But when it becomes warmer, those butter sculptures will melt away. But the next year, they start over again. Also, they create those tanga paintings, as you can see, extremely elaborate, and tapestry. Those are huge tapestry. They show off this tapestry on a yearly basis as kind of a festival at the festival time. This metal horn used in the Buddhist rituals, very heavy, very large in size. This is a thigh bone trumpet from Tibetan Buddhism. On this map, you can really see that this branch of Buddhism, Tantric Buddhism, the location of Tantric Buddhism is practiced in Tibet, Mongolia, and in the Mongolia of China. And also you have see this place, Kamkia in Russia. This is the only place in Europe where the majority of population practice Buddhism, and they practice a particular version of Buddhism. This is a result of historical migration from Mongolia to Europe. So this is Tantric Buddhism. Scriptures of Buddhism. For a long time, Buddha's teachings are passed on through oral traditions. During his time, also during 450 years after his death. Then in 29 BC, his teaching were put into writing for the first time in Pali. Pali is a variant of Sanskrit. It's kind of a writing system. And this kind of so it's called the Pali Canon. Pali Canon was written or organized in 3 sections. So it's called the Pali Tripitaka, 3 sections. And these were the oldest scriptures within Buddhism. So it was regarded as actual words by Buddha. And it is also the founding doctrine of Theravada Buddhism. Later on, for other branches of Buddhism, they have newer scriptures written in different languages, and Mahayana Buddhism, Vajrayana Buddhism, they both accept newer writings and newer interpretation of Buddha's teaching. At the same time, they also accept the Pali Canon. Here I have a few pictures to show. One thing about the Buddhism is that the size matters. So we can really see that in ancient China, they carve some very large size mountains into a Buddha statue. This particular Buddha statue was in Leshan, China. Giant Buddha is complete in early 9th century during the Tang Dynasty, 234 feet tall. And the Japanese traveled to China and they were impressed by the big size of Buddha, and they went back to Japan themselves and they carved a big Buddha himself. And this bronze Buddha in Japan, and 45 feet tall, and was made in 1252. So that's really big size Buddha. Look at this humans here, barely as the size of the feet of a Buddha. So that's really a giant. They carve the entire mountain, stone mountain, into a Buddhist statue. And this is a Buddha statue that was found in Sri Lanka, somewhere in Sri Lanka, 40 feet high. So that's a big, giant Buddhist statue. So size matters. In some parts of India, central part of India, there are some very famous Buddhist stone carvings, Ajanta caves here in Maharashtra state of India. Those series of Buddhist stone carvings was made during the 1 through 7th centuries. And Kala caves is also very famous. It made it between 2nd century BC to 5th century AD. And the Chinese also carved a lot of Buddhist caves. Here I took SLUE students to China during some summer field trips there, and we took a trip to this particular place, Longmen Caves in Luoyang, Henan, China. And these the caves, they carved between 5th to 8th century. So you can really see big, very big Buddhist statues. We took pictures in front of those stone carvings. Now let's make some contrast between Hinduism and Buddhism. We look at both similarities and the differences between Hinduism and Buddhism. Both Hinduism and Buddhism believe in the concepts such as samsara and karma. We know samsara means reincarnation. Life is kind of a cycle of birth and living and the death and rebirth again. Also, the karma is a way to derive the direction of movement. You will be rewarded for good behavior, but you will be penalized for bad behavior. So those both Buddhism and Hinduism accept this concept. Both Hinduism believe in the desire is the root cause of human suffering, and detachment and nirvana is the solution. Nirvana for Buddhism, moksha for Hinduism. But essentially, they all mean detachment is a solution to human suffering. Both religions emphasize no violence to humans and animals, and both religions believe in several heavens and hells and multiple deities and gods. So in that regard, there's similarities. Both religions originated in South Asia, but also there's a vast difference between Hinduism and Buddhism. For Hinduism, there's no particular founder. You cannot really find a particular person to declare that this is the founder of Hinduism. But in Buddhism, you can find Siddhartha Gautama is the founder of Buddhism. Then Hinduism, they had this notion of Atman, the essential soul of any individual person. But for Buddhists, they look for anatta, no self, no self. So that is really different. Yeah. For Hinduism, they believe in caste system, but for Buddhism, they don't believe in such things as a caste system. As long as you live in Buddhist community, Buddhist monastery, you're all equal. In Buddhism, Hindus accept the Vedic text, but for Buddhists, they only accept Buddhist scriptures. Also, in Hinduism, many practice of Hinduism is found in South Asia, but for Buddhism, is in East Asia and mainland Southeast Asia. Well, in summary, in this lecture, we have covered some general characteristics of Buddhism. We see that this is offshoot religion from Hinduism. This is also the oldest universalizing religion. In terms of origin of Buddhism, we can trace to this particular person, Siddhartha Gautama. Eventually, he became an enlightened one, the Buddha. And Buddha's teachings focus on the Four Noble Truths. And also, we discussed 3 marks of existence, and this really provides the philosophical basis of detachment. Also, in the context of divisions of Buddhism, we look at 3 branches of Buddhism. In terms of the scriptures, we talk about the Pali canon. We also mentioned some newer scriptures that are adopted by some other branch of Buddhism outside Theravada Buddhism. Finally, we'll make some major contrast between Hinduism and Buddhism. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.